which I've now done. So welcome everyone to our regular weekly call. I should mention I've switched on, having come across an article about it, the closed caption facility on Zoom. I've no idea how well it works, but if anyone wishes to try it and let me know afterwards, that would be fantastic to know if it's actually useful and usable, just for future reference. I followed the instructions, but that doesn't mean to say that it's actually functional. And as I say, I can't tell at my end, unfortunately. So I'm hoping, if I've done it properly, it will automatically generate some form of subtitling if you switch it on at your device. But anyway, welcome everyone to the call. I've got 4 topics to cover off today. And I'll happily take any views from anybody else. If there's any other topics you want to pick up on, we can, if need be, go back to conference robots, and I can see that John has helpfully posted a link into the chat if anyone is especially interested in that. So maybe that'd be a topic under any other business. But in the order that I've written them down, I'm going to cover off private prefetch proxies. One of these days I will say that correctly at the first time of asking, just seeing if anyone that was on the call with Kenji last Thursday morning has any reflections or further insights from that discussion, or indeed anyone that wasn't on the call but maybe has had an opportunity to look at the recording and or notes has any views. Appreciate those. Then sort of move on to a discussion around ECH, Encrypted Client Hello, just to sort of catch up with the latest on that. Before moving on, firstly to the European Resolver policy, just to give you an update on that, before touching on some of the events coming up in the next month or so. So that's everything I've got on my list. If others have anything that they want to add to that, feel free to either put something in the chat or jump in at the end with your views. Happily sort of go to other topics as appropriate. But first things then, just going back to the start of that list, which was the discussion we had with Kenji about Google's private prefetch proxy plans that he sort of took us through briefly last Thursday, but mainly covered questions that people raised. There's quite a lot of content there. The call ran for, I think, 1 hour 5 minutes. So Kenji watches this. Thanks, Kenji, again for making the time. That was very helpful to really sort of give some focus to that. But I thought I would just ask if anyone, as I said, that was either on the call has any reflections, now you've had a chance to think about it, or indeed anyone, if you have caught up with the content since, if anything jumped out at you that you'd like to raise. And I can see that Ron, I think, has raised his hand, unless it's a graphic that's gone astray. No, actually it was my cursor that had gone astray, so Ron, don't panic. I don't think you had raised your hand, although you're welcome to contribute. But I can see Hanny has posted a question in the chat as to whether the prefetch proxy is opt-in or opt-out for the Chrome user. And I think from what Kenji said, at the moment they're envisaging it will be something you can opt out of. That was partly prompted by a discussion. Mallory Nodal asked a question about how it would work where people are on metered connections, and obviously if you've got sort of fairly aggressive prefetching, that could really ramp up your data usage. So it certainly would appear that there's options to opt out of it. Quite how that will work within the user interface, I think, is yet to be defined. But it did seem something that the user could potentially opt out of, and indeed, I think they're envisaging that for enterprises, there will be the option for the enterprise to opt all users out of it if you've got split horizon DNS and had concerns about internal names leaking. So there's going to be some degree of control on it. But I don't know if anyone that was on the call had any sort of reflections, having had a chance to sleep on it over the last few days, if there was anything that you thought was especially noteworthy from what Kenji said, and if so, feel free to raise your virtual hand or pop something in the chat as appropriate. Be happy to take any views on that. So just pause for a moment to see if anyone does have anything that you wish to contribute. I'll take silence as possibly not at the moment. I know that for many of you sort of based in the US, the time of the call last Thursday was a little challenging. We did have certainly one or two who joined from the West Coast or indeed from the East Coast, but I appreciate it wasn't an especially attractive time of day. So if you haven't had a chance to catch up with the call recording, it'd be, I think, well worth your while doing so. As Kenji did cover a lot of ground on the call last week. Yeah. I think one thing I will observe, which I thought was an interesting part of the discussion, was the question was raised whether network operators will have the ability to at least temporarily disable prefetching in the event that they were experiencing some sort of peak usage on the network. And I think the impression I had that wasn't something that was currently on Google's radar, but I think Kenji certainly took that away to think about, and you'll see in the call notes that was one of the areas where he indicated further feedback from people would be most welcome if you have any particular views on that. I think that part of the challenges at the moment, Google doesn't have any data as far as I could tell, to give an indication how much additional traffic they envisage the Prefetch proxy generating, which obviously can make it quite tough from a network sort of or traffic planning point of view to know how much of a bump there might be in traffic at the point when the is switched on. If you are a network operator and have a view on how much headroom you've got in your sort of traffic, then that may be a topic you might want to give some feedback to Kenji and team on in terms of whether the ability to temporarily opt out will be beneficial or not. Okay, if there are no other observations on that, I'll move on to Encrypted Client Hello, or ECH, which, just as a reminder, that's the proposed replacement such that it is for encrypted eSNI, albeit it's a bit more encompassing than eSNI, being worked on within the IETF through the TLS working group, and they're currently at the interoperability sort of testing stage, so a little way to go before the standard is anyway finished, but certainly the first stage of interoperability testing is just running, and I know some of the people on this call are involved in that to a greater or lesser extent. if you didn't catch it in the sort of weekly news update, you would have seen, well, if you didn't catch it, you won't have seen. Have a look at the weekly news update. You'll see when you do so that Infoblox put out a blog post last week on ECH, just ready to give a heads up to its customer base on what's being discussed and what it views as the potential impact for its customers. So that I think will be a useful sort of article to read if you've not had a chance to pick up on it yet. But equally, I did a relatively short briefing document probably 6 months ago now, and I will be updating that. So if anyone wants to contribute to that, then please sort of just reach out to me offline. I'm happy to take your views and inputs into account when doing that update. And speaking of people currently involved in some of the ECH work, I can see Chris Wood from Cloudflare has raised his virtual hand. So Chris, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. I missed, sorry, you were referencing an article that people may or may not have read, and I'm sorry, I missed which article this was.
Oh, sorry, it was an article by Infoblox, a blog post, in fact, which it put out a few days ago on ECH. Now, if you bear with me,
Thanks, Paul.
Just about, well, I was going to say I can multitask, but Paul's beat me to it. So Paul has helpfully posted a link to the article in the chat. So yeah, have a look at that, or if you haven't, if you can't do it at the moment, you'll see in your inbox where I put out the weekly news headlines. There's a link to it there as well. So it's definitely worth a read to get one organization's take on the potential impact of ECH. So
Definitely, yeah, I'll read it. Thanks so much for sharing.
Okay, no worries. I don't know if anybody else has got any sort of views or is especially current on the ECH developments currently, but I'll pause and give you a chance to jump in if you have. As Tao wanted, Dave, you wanted to jump in, or were you just breathing?
Oh, apparently I didn't realize I've been unmuted. Sorry.
That's quite okay. Breathing, that's fine too. Good to know that you are indeed doing that. That's important. Well, as I say, if anyone wishes to be involved in the update to the briefing paper that I'm doing, then do reach out to me offline, and I'll happily take your views and inputs into account in doing that, and we'll be pushing something out in the next couple of weeks, partly based on a roundtable discussion that some of us took part in a few weeks back. But any further input will be most welcome on that subject. Okay, if I move on to the European resolver policy, just to give you an update on that. You may have seen a couple of blog posts that I've done, which appeared in AppNic and also in RIPE over the last few weeks, and also thanks to the RIPE DNS working group, we had, I think, a useful discussion at their virtual session last week, and a few weeks before that at the last ICANN session there as well. So there's been a few opportunities for people to talk about it. That's resulted now in the first few companies coming on board either to endorse and/or to adopt the policy for their own use. And I envisage that we'll be putting out a press release with details of those first few organizations at some point through next week. So if you're sort of thinking about either endorsing or adopting the policy and want to be included in that press release, again, do come back to me as soon as possible, so that you don't sort of miss the opportunity to be included. Inevitably, in having some further organisations have a look at the content, that's prompted some suggestions for some additional refinement, which I've taken on board, and subject to those being agreed with the first organisations that have endorsed the policy, then we will issue an update to the policy probably at the same time as the press release going out with the sort of first tranche of endorsements. So thank you to those of you that took the time to sort of put suggestions in, and equally thank you to those who've already endorsed or adopted the policy. But come back to me as quickly as possible if you want to be included in that announcement and haven't yet confirmed that you want to do so. And I should say also thanks to Brett Carr at Nominet for sort of helping in the discussion at the RIPE DNS working group last week, which I think was quite a positive discussion. And anyone that's interested in viewing that, the recording is accessible online. And I sort of posted a link to it in the weekly headlines update earlier on today. So that'll be in your inboxes if you've not had a chance to catch up with it yet.
Andrew, I do have it on my to-do list to send said thing to the RIPE DNS working group mailing list, which I will do at some point this week. It's not at the top of my to-do list, but it's not far from the top.
Good to hear. And thank you for doing that. So seriously, that was much appreciated. Okay, anyone got any questions on that before I move on? I can't see anything in the chat, so I'll take that as not. So let me move on then. Looking at some of the events coming up over the next sort of couple of months, there's quite a few sort of events of interest I noted. So over the next sort of few weeks, we've got DNS OARC sort of coming up in early May. Sort of shortly afterwards, that's followed by RIPE 82. Eurodig is in the latter part of June. I think I've passed over ICANN as well in all of that, just to sort of underline that the events are sort of thick and fast in the next couple of months. I should do a blatant plug to say that any of you that are interested in participating in Eurodig, I've agreed to sort of act as a co-focal point in the Eurodig parlance for a session on end-to-end encryption. So we're going to be sort of teeing up a discussion between parties with different points of view of the pros and cons of more end-to-end encryption. And my ambition is to get someone from the Five Eyes to participate, preferably alongside someone from the Internet Society, which should make for a lively and not boring discussion, I think it's safe to say. So anyone got an interest in that or any other topics, there's plenty more material on what's envisaged for Eurodig, and lots of opportunity for people to sort of take part and influence how those discussions go. So I'd urge you to do that if policy is of interest to you. And of course, it'd be rude not to mention that also there, it's not so far away. We've got IETF 111, virtual, not San Francisco, sadly. Registration opens up this coming Monday. So it'd be possible to register, and I presume there'll be the usual early bird sort of advantageous rates, so worth registering early if you're able to. And thinking about the AGD working group amongst others, it's not so far away before there'll be the cut-off for papers to be submitted. So I know most people tend to leave to the last minute to actually submit the papers, but it won't do any harm to start thinking about the content if you've not already done so. If you have an ambition to have a paper submitted in time for consideration during IETF 111, be that in the ATD working group or indeed any other. Yeah, as I say, registration's open on Monday, but there's plenty of other stuff running over the next couple of months. which is likely to be of interest to various people on this call. Right, now I think that was everything which I mentioned I had on my list for this week. I did pick up, I can't remember if it was on this call, but from a couple of weeks back, but I have reached out to the Internet Society sort of teams, in particular the person behind the, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I'm not sure if it's pronounced Kind DNS or Kin DNS initiative, and I'm hoping to get one of them on this call in the next week or so to talk about that initiative, because I think it will be of interest to people here. I'm just waiting to firm up on dates on that, so more on that when it arrives. But yeah, that was pretty much everything I had on my list. Does anyone have anything else that is top of your minds that you want to raise this week? Maybe a chance to think about that. I should say either raise your virtual hand using Zoom or put something in the chat. That probably would be helpful if I suggested that as a clue. Perhaps while you're thinking, I'll ask, so I can see Dan, and Dan Wing is on. Did anyone come forward after the call a couple of weeks back, Dan, to sort of offer to contribute more content to the split DNS ID?
No, we haven't received any mails on that at all.
Sorry, Dan, say again.
No, we haven't received anyone emailing on that at all.
Okay, well, in which case I'll maybe ask if people sort of remembering the discussion we had about the split DNS discovery proposal, which certainly prompted a fair amount of discussion on the call. And I think there are a number of possible use cases which certainly I've spoken to people about. So I would urge you to sort of maybe reach out to Dan and Tiru offline to see if you can contribute to that, because I think it would be useful to expand that paper. And I think the guys would welcome your input, but it would need people to be proactive to add to the current scope of that paper. So please do so.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks,
ASAP.
Andrew, this is Allison Mankin. I've not been able to attend until now, but I've had a meeting, a standing meeting go away, and I'm happy to be able to join this weekly meeting. And I wanted to ask you if you would give a link to the Kind or Kin DNS program, since it's not ringing the bell and I couldn't find it quickly in a quick search.
I just found it. I'll send it in the chat, Allison.
It's not there now.
There was a presentation at the last ICANN meeting about it, if that's useful.
What's the ICANN thing? Okay, good. Yeah, okay, thank you very much, Dan.
If not, I will email. I'll put it in. Oh, somebody's already done it. Yeah. Thanks, Dan. Yeah, there's a link in the chat now, Alison.
Good. Excellent.
It sounded like quite an interesting initiative, to be fair, which is why I've asked if for one of the ISOC team to come onto the call just to talk about it a bit more, because I'm not sure how much visibility it's had to date. I'm pretty sure it'd be of interest to this group. But when I looked at the mailing list that goes with the initiative, I think when I checked a couple of weeks ago, there were only 18 of us on the mailing list, and that included me and I think John Todd, who I think both picked up an interest in it on the back of a passing mention on this call, possibly by Ulrich, but I might be wrong in that. But certainly someone who suggested it would be of interest. Well, we'll see if I get one of the guys to come on the call and talk about it a bit more shortly.
I think so. I should say that I'm a co-author of the BCP on DNS privacy, and I will definitely join that mailing list too, so we can kind of see if we can align with other orgs on the ITF's BCP on that front, and of course with you as you have been.
Yes, that's RFC 8932, I think,
Yes.
which I keep suggesting people have a look at because I think it's a particularly useful document. So thank you for you and Sarah and others for taking the time to write it. I think it's particularly helpful to have that that out there now. I should say anyone that looks at the European Resolver policy will find a direct reference to that RFC in it, as it helpfully encapsulates all the key operational practices that should be employed. Okay, anything else that anyone wants to raise this week? Not getting a strong feeling that there is. So in which case, let's draw the call to a close this week. A short call this week compared to normal. But I think we'll be probably back to a normal format over the next few weeks with some prepared presentations. But hopefully that was all useful. So have a great week, everyone, and we'll convene again next week. Thanks very much, all.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you. Bye.